Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of West Bend Planning Commission meeting for September 7th. Note that we do have a quorum with Commissioner Schmidt absent. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a slew of items tonight, but hopefully we'll get through it pretty fast. The first being approval of the minutes, the regular meeting minutes for August 3rd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Starl and Model. Any questions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, sit up by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Start off with 4 development proposals. A 2020 comprehensive plan and zoning amendment. We're going to have Jim talk about 1 and 2 together, and then we'll take up the individual public hearing items. So I'll start off by reading number 1, discussion and public hearing at 6 p.m. meeting for a change in the recommended land use from industrial to mixed use for approximately 4.2 acres of land within TIN number 12, located at the southeast corner of South Forest Avenue and East Water Street, and at the northeast corner of North Forest Avenue and East Water Street in the comprehensive plan for the City of West Bend by Department of Development. The applicant is the City of West Bend. The agent is the same. And number 2, ZA-20-005, a public hearing at 6 p.m. meeting for a request to rezone approximately 4.2 acres of land located at the northeast corner of North Forest Avenue and East Water Street, at the southeast corner of South Forest Avenue and East Water Street. Tax key number 1119-132-0195, 1119-132-0204, 1119-132-0205, and 1119-132-0232. From M2 Heavy Industrial District to MXD Mixed Use District by the City of West Bend. The applicant is us. The agent is the same. Jim, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This combination of a land use change and zoning change is for the former portion of the Gale Company, along with the business to the industrial business to the north. This is to help facilitate with the redevelopment of the area. The 4 parcels were identified as industrial in the land use plan. This reflected the past uses and the current use of that property. So what the city or the staff is proposing is a proposal to change that land use from the industrial legacy uses to a future use of MXD, consistent with the area, with the rest of the area to the west and north. We published a public notice in the paper. Also notified everyone within 200 feet of the hearing. Staff received no inquiries or comments regarding the proposed change. Staff would recommend approval of this. If the commission finds that it's also acceptable, we ask that the commission acknowledge a resolution acknowledging the change for this recommended land use. As for the zoning request, it would be to change from the heavy industrial legacy zoning, again, to the mixed use. This is consistent with the other zonings within the area to help facilitate this redevelopment. Again, the property owners within 200 feet were notified, and again, staff received no comments or inquiries pertaining to the zoning change, and staff would recommend approval of the zoning from the M2 to MXD to the Common Council.
Sounds great. And with that, we'll start by opening up the public hearing. The first public hearing is just pertaining to the comprehensive plan. If anybody would like to speak from the audience, feel free to come on up, state your name, and let us know what's on your mind.
Second.
Thank you, Fleischman and Starl. All those in favor of ending the public hearings, and by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now I'll open up to the commission if anybody has any questions or comments. Otherwise, we're looking for approval of the comp plan resolution.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you, Model and Gannon. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then we'll move on to the public hearing for the recommendation to council moving from M2 to mixed use. Again, if anybody from the public would like to speak on this item, feel free to come on up.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Gannon and Newman. All those in favor of ending the public hearing, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And once again, I'll open up to the commission if anybody has any questions on this. Otherwise, we're looking for a recommendation to council. Thank you. Dolnick and Fleischman. Any questions on this? Hearing none. All those in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. And we're going to do the same thing with 3 and 4 kind of being combined items. So I'll take up number 3, discussion and public hearing at 6 p.m. Meeting for a change in the recommended land use from 2-family residential to single-family residential in the 2020 comprehensive plan for the city of West Bend for approximately 0.48 acre parcel located at 427 North Street by Department of Development. The applicant is agent is the same. And number 4, ZA-21-006, public hearing at 6 p.m. Meeting for request to rezone approximately 0.48 acres of land located at 527 North Street. Tax key number 1119-123-0203 and tax key number 1119-123-0204 from RD2 2-family residential district to RS4 single-family residential district by Eric Westfall. The applicant is Eric and Leona Westfall, and the agent is the same. Jim.
Thank you. Again, this was a request for a change in land use from the 2-family to single-family. Back in August, the commission reviewed a request and then set the public hearing for tonight for the 0.48 acres of land for this. This has helped to facilitate with the remodeling of the home from a 2-family to a single-family, which is currently being used for, and also help facilitate with the neighbor and access to their garage. The public notice has been published again. Again, all property owners within 200 feet were notified. Staff received no inquiries or comments regarding the change. If the commission finds the land use to be changed to be acceptable, we ask that the commission pass a resolution acknowledging that change for the common council for consideration. The same as with the zoning. The zoning request is from the RD2 2-family to the RS4 single-family. The zoning is consistent with the surrounding zoning for the single-family use to the north. And again, all property owners were notified. Staff received no inquiries or comments regarding the change, and staff would recommend approval to the council for the RD2 to RS4 change.
Thanks so much, Jim. And with that, we'll open up the public hearing on this item. This is again for the comp plan resolution for 527 North Street. If anybody from the public would like to speak on this item, feel free to come on up.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Bonnell and Starl. All those in favor of ending the public hearing, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then I'll open up for any discussion. Otherwise, we'll be looking for approval of the comp plan resolution. Yes, sir.
Just a minor question. When we had this at the concept stage, there was a question about the driveway access for the neighbor. And I don't remember the overhead, or we don't have the overhead photograph of the parcel now today. But I assume that the neighbor is fine because it's. Do you remember what I'm referring to?
So there is a driveway. There's that small chunk of land. You can see where the cursor is up on the monitor. The neighbor to the north has a driveway that cuts through that property, and the two property owners are working together to reconfigure the lots to provide access to that garage and kind of portion out that land. The property owner to the north actually owns that real weird sliver. And this is to help clean that up along with this.
Okay.
Sounds good. And so I'd be looking for that motion for the resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Dolnick and Model. If there's no further questions, all those in favor, sit up by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then we'll take up the public hearing for the recommendation to council from RD2 to RS4. Again, if anybody from the public would like to speak on this item, feel free to come on up. Thank you, Fleischman and Dolnick. All those in favor of ending the public hearings, anybody saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Then I'll open it up to the commission if anybody has any other questions. Otherwise, we're looking for a recommendation to council.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Model and Dolnick. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And once again, we're going to take 5 and 6 kind of together. We'll start off with number 5, discussion and public hearing at the 6 p.m. meeting for a change in the recommended land use from industrial and multifamily to single family for approximately 16.8 acres located at the northeast corner of University Drive and West Decorah Road in the comprehensive plan for the city of West Bend by Department of Development. The applicant is City of West Bend. The agent is the same. And number 6, ZA-21-007, a public hearing at 6 p.m. meeting for a request to rezone approximately 16.8 acres of land located at 650 feet north of West Decorah Road, or between University Drive and US Highway 45. Tax key number 111915400012, tax key 111915400013, tax key 1119150017, and portion of tax key number 111915400021. From TMP Temporary and M1 Light Industrial District to RS4 Single Family Residential District, and at 2100 West Decorah Road with that other taxi number from TMP Temporary to RS1 Single Family Residential District by Ryan Doherty. The applicant is Ryan. The agent is the same. Jim.
Thank you. Again, the Plan Commission reviewed a request back in August for the 16.8 acres over at the northeast corner of University and West Decorah Road. As part of this also includes the Doherty property at 2100 West Decorah. The owners are proposing to change the land use from the industrial and multifamily land use that's assigned out there and convert that over to all single-family land use. This, again, is to help facilitate with the future development of the lots to two estate single-family lots. The one lot is about 6.5 acres and contains a single-family house, and the 10.3 acres would be used for the other estate lot and would essentially preserve the lands as open space as it is today, with the creation of one new home that the property owner would like to build in the future. Again, the property owners within 200 feet were notified of the public hearing. Staff has not received any inquiries pertaining to this. And again, with the land use plan, we ask that the Plan Commission pass a resolution acknowledging the change if they find this to be acceptable. With the zoning portion, this request is to actually permanently zone the areas that have been temporarily zoned as part of the boundary agreement when it was attached to the city, and the other portions that were zoned M1 light industrial would be rezoned to RS1 along with the TMP to RS1. Again, this is to help establish the base zoning for the redevelopment of that 10 acres to the west and then that 6 acres of the existing house. Again, these would both be used as estate lots as single family, and the property owners do acknowledge all the potential and current uses around that area. Again, all property owners within 200 feet were notified of the public hearing. Staff received no inquiries or comments pertaining to the change, and staff would also recommend approval of that zoning from temporary and light industrial to the RS1.
Thank you so much. And once again, I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak on this item, feel free to come on up. Hey there, sir. Could you please state your name and address for us and let us know what's on your mind.
Ryan Doherty, 3726 Toll Park Drive, West Bend, Wisconsin, 53095. No comments, just here for questions.
Great, thank you. Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to end the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Arnold and Gannon. All in favor of ending the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then I'll open up to the commission if anybody has any questions of staff or Mr. Doherty. Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to approve the complicated resolution. Thank you. Thank you, Starl and Fleischman. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we'll open up the public hearing for item number 6, which is the recommendation to council. Again, if anybody from the public would like to come up and speak on this item, feel free to come on up.
Ryan Doherty, same appearance.
Thanks, Ryan. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to end.
Motion.
Thank you. Fleischman, Model, we'll do it that way.
Sounds good.
All those in favor of ending the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Otherwise, we're looking for a recommendation to council as well.
Second.
Thank you. Dolnick and Muddle. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
All right, we skipped past all those public hearings, so now we're at B, Certified Survey Map and Site Plan, number 1, CSM-21-009, to redivide the properties into 3 lots located at 2275 South Main Street by Lynch Ventures LLC, West Bend. The applicant is Kurt Petrie of Lynch Ventures. Agent is Jonathan Warden of Quam Engineering. Jim, what do you got for us?
Thank you. The certified survey map is located at the northeast corner of South Main Street and West Progress Drive. The purpose of the CSM is to redivide the existing lands to create 3 commercial lots. All the lots, or all the area is zoned B4 General Business and Warehouse District. Lot 1 is approximately 8.3 acres and contains the Lynch Automotive dealership. Lot number 2 is 9.6 acres and contains a commercial building on that lot. And then lot number 3 is 4.9 acres and is a vacant corner. The CSM identifies a 50-foot half right-of-way being dedicated for South Main Street, consistent with the city's official map. Currently, there are existing improvements that do exist within that 50-foot right-of-way. So a developer's agreement will be required to outline the rights and restrictions of the improvements pertaining to that and the development of the South Main Street right-of-way. Staff would recommend approval of the CSM with the listed condition.
Thanks so much. I'll open up to the commission if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, look for approval as recommended.
Quick question. You say the driveway's gonna be off of Main Street and off of Sylvan Way? That's kind of a funky corner there. I mean, that's with the driveway coming off of Main Street, I guess. So is 2 driveways coming off into that area, or what?
So in the next item, we have the site plan that, so lot number 1 where the dealership is has 2 driveways. The north driveway is gonna remain. The driveway further south is actually gonna be moved and to line up with the driveway across the street.
Okay.
And then currently there is no driveway for lot number 2 for that other
Right.
commercial property. They're gonna actually be constructing a formal driveway on Sylvan Way there. And then access for lot number 3 would either be from Main Street or Progress Drive or possibly both.
Kinda.
Yeah, depending on what their site plan, a future site plan would be submitted for.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Muddle and Snarl. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And in a related item, number 2, SP-21-020, site plan for parking lot improvements at 2275 and 2335 South Main Street, and adding an entrance off of Sylvan Way by Lynch West Bend. The applicant is Kurt Petrie of Lynch Ventures. Agent is Kevin Parrish of Quam Engineering. Jim?
Thank you. Again, this site plan is for these site improvements for the Lynch Automotive facilities at 2275 and 2335 South Main. The 23.75 acre property is zone B4. Again, this Plan Commission just approved the certified survey map creating the 3 lots. 2 driveways are proposed for the dealership on that lot number 1. The southernmost driveway, again, as I mentioned, is being relocated to line up with the driveway for the hockey center and the church off to the west. A new driveway is being proposed for that lot number 2, where the other commercial building is. Again, as mentioned in the CSM report, a portion of the parking lot does exist within the right-of-way that's being dedicated for Main Street, and a developer's agreement will be completed pertaining to the rights and restrictions for the use of that area until the reconstruction of South Main Street. The site plan also identifies the parking areas and displaced areas for the automobiles, and green space setbacks are being created between the pavement areas and the property lines. Stormwater management plan has been submitted for the development and is currently under review. and the grades have generally been designed to drain lots 1 and 2 to the existing stormwater pond on lot number 2. The site lighting is going to consist of LED-mounted light fixtures within the paved areas throughout the display area. Staff would recommend approval of the site plan with the listed conditions.
Thanks, Jim. I'll open up to commission if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to approve with conditions.
Second.
Thank you, Newman and Muddle. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we'll move on to C, site plans, number 1, SP-21-017, site plan for 4 multi-tenant industrial buildings located at 2900 East Progress Drive by NEC Stockhausen LLC. The applicant is Terry Stockhausen, and agent is Joseph Bronowski of JB Site Design and Engineering. Jim?
Thank you. This site plan is for 4 multi-tenant industrial buildings on East Progress Drive. The 3.2 acre parcel is zoned M3, Planned Business Park District. The site plan conforms to the site requirements for the zoning district. Screen refuse areas are not proposed, so the refuse containers will be required to be stored within each building unit. 2 driveways are proposed for the site. The site has significant grade change, so the 2 accesses are needed for each one, so they act independently. So 2 buildings will access one set of driveways and the other 2 for the next set. A total of 61 standard and 3 barrier-free parking stalls are being provided. Sanitary, sewer, and water will be provided to these buildings from East Progress Drive. A stormwater management plan has been submitted for the development and is approved, and the site grades have been designed generally to drain to the north and east to the ditches along Progress Drive. Landscaping is provided for building foundation plantings at the building corners and the flatter slopes of this development. The architectural building materials will consist of a beige colored stucco type material on the lower 8 to 10 foot portions of the building, and also portions of the building that are visible from the road. The remaining portions of the building will be constructed of an ivory colored vertical metal panel. Staff would recommend approval of the site plan with the listed conditions.
Thanks so much. And I'll open up to commission if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, we're looking for a site plan approval with conditions. Thank you, Fleischman and Newman. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to number 2, SP-21-019, a site plan for building alterations and site changes at 1950 North Main Street by Habitat for Humanity. The applicant is Russ Wanta of Habitat for Humanity. The agent is Adam Hurdle of American Architectural Group. Jim?
Thank you. This site plan is for the exterior building renovations and improvement and site improvements for the commercial site for the Habitat for Humanity relocation of their restore. This is also repurposing the former skate country rink, or the skating rink. The 2.3 acre property is zoned B1 Community Business District. Part of the site improvements would include a 20 by 50, 12 foot tall chain link fence with vision slats for a display area and outdoor storage area. Staff did have some concerns with the type of screening that's being proposed with the chain link fence and the vision slats, just for durability given the commercial uses and what would be stored in there. There's also a fire hydrant that exists that's not shown on the site plan, so there may be some changes to the location of that fire hydrant if there are conflicts with the fire department requirements. They are also proposing a 12 foot by 20 foot screened refuse area, again with the chain link fence, with the vision slats. Staff is again concerned with that. Typically our screened refuse areas are made of materials that are compatible with the building, or a little more durable materials such as a wood enclosure. The parking lot will be resealed and restriped, resulting in a total of 109 standard parking stalls and 5 barrier-free parking stalls being provided. The existing light poles will be re-lamped with LED fixtures on those existing 20-foot tall poles. New foundation plantings are proposed. along the east side of the building. Upon review, staff would also recommend that the plantings be extended on the north side, or the northern side of the building, just north of the new entrance. And a planting box with landscaping is being proposed over by the covered drop-off area. The planter box is an unspecified height, and staff would recommend that planter box be enlarged to be taller to help provide the screening of that overhead door. Typically, we don't have overhead doors that face our main streets or our main roadways, and this is just to help screen and buffer that overhead door. The architectural elevations provided indicate new windows being provided around the entire building. The overhead door will be installed, replacing the 3 existing doors on that southern end of the building, and the existing windows on the middle or northern end of the building will be replaced with sliding glass doors. The existing concrete masonry building will be painted a light beige, and they are also proposing a blue banding with their corporate color for the Habitat for Humanity color along that east portion of the building, along with a green accent panel area by the entrance doors. Staff would recommend approval of the site plan with the listed conditions.
Thanks so much, Jim. I'll open up to the commission if anybody has any questions. Commissioner Mao.
Yeah, Jim, so, excuse me, am I to understand that Restore wants to remodel to look like what these photos are? Is that kind of the Restore look?
The photo that I had is just more to give you the representation of the color for
Okay.
for the blue
Okay.
and the green that they have.
Okay. Well, also as the Barton Alderman, I just wanted to thank Restore for coming into the Barton area, and it's a pleasure to have a institution like Habitat in our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Jim, I think it's gonna look like Gander Mountain kind of, right down, I'm looking at the falls or Germantown, because I think you had one of those pictures in there, the Gander Mountain look where the Restore is in Germantown, similar to that or not?
No, the architecture is just going to be that those photos were just to show the color, the
Oh,
corporate
okay.
colors.
Okay,
The renderings were just, I didn't feel completely comfortable with the renderings, so that's why I asked for some pictures of their corporate colors.
gotcha.
Just
Gotcha.
as a reference.
And I'll agree with Justice here. I mean, it's gonna add a nice, from what the building looked like to what it's gonna be a step up in Barton, so I agree 100%.
It'd be
So,
great to have that cleaned
yes.
up.
Sounds great. Any other comments? Questions? Yep.
I didn't think that we allowed those slats on chain link fences.
Yes, Mark?
They are contrary to our urban design standards. That is correct. There isn't a specific restriction for them, but they do not meet the intent of our urban design.
So if we approve this,
You have the authority to be able to approve it. You have the authority to require something more consistent with our design standards.
and the applicant would have to show a need for the exception, I assume.
That's up to your determination.
See, I'm not overly troubled. I think the distance, I don't think it's going to be, yes, it's an improvement. I fully acknowledge that it's going to be an improvement. I don't know that the fence will be, that's going to be some distance from Main Street. My only concern is that if we're asked in the future to allow it, we're going to have an explanation why it was allowed for this. And it should be more than just because we like Habitat for Humanity.
I agree. I believe that just the aesthetics, I mean, what a great improvement, and so thrilled to see this on here today. Great improvement, but I would also support having the chain link fence replaced by something more consistent with what we've approved in the past, cedar plank or something.
Sure. Commissioner Newman?
Gentlemen, you're from, I have a question, is, if you're gonna move it because of the hydrant, is it gonna be closer to the road by any means, or?
Do Do you mind jumping up to the mic? Maybe you could just state your name and who you're with.
Adam Hurdle with American Architectural Group.
Thanks.
Yeah, if the hydrant presents some kind of problem, we'll move it to be according to the fire department requirements as well as getting it away from the building or however it needs to be. Yep. And then just to touch on the slats versus wood, there's no problem. If we understand if the slats aren't required, we have no problem making it a cedar plank.
Great.
We absolutely will do that.
Okay.
Sounds
Thanks.
good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good.
Any other questions, comments?
Do we need to
Yep.
make that formal, or is it just okay that, should I move to approve with the 3 conditions listed and the change to cedar?
I would ask that, yes.
Yeah.
Was that a motion? Second.
Okay. Thank you, Fleischman and Model. And I'll just add, I think we all have memories skating at that building, so it's great to see reuse of that building by Restore. That's great. All right, there's nothing else.
I will I'll abstain as well.
You're going to abstain?
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Then with Commissioner Gannon abstaining, if everybody else is good, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thanks again. It's going to be
Thank
great
you.
up there.
All right. And moving on to number 3, SP-21-010, site plan for facade renovations at the Boardroom and Garden Lounge located at 254 and 258 North Main Street by Jeremy Hahn. The applicant is Jeremy of 258 North Main Street, LLC. The agent is Eric Lafreniere of 655 West Irving Park Road in Chicago. Jim.
Thank you. This site plan is for exterior architectural renovations. Along with this, there are some interior renovations that will be occurring for this building located at 254 and 258 North Main Street. The owner is proposing to do changes to the east side of the building at this time, or I should say this approval is for the east side of the building at this time. The applicant will be submitting another site plan in the future for alterations to a mezzanine and also the alterations to the exterior on the west side of the building. So that more than likely will be at the next Plan Commission meeting for that. The property is zone B2. It's in our central business district. So the proposal is to replace the storefront windows with 2 16-foot overhead glass doors, roll-up doors. The existing entrance will remain the same, so the doors will be on either side of that existing main entrance. The existing tile and metal siding would also remain as is today. Staff would recommend approval of the site plan as presented for the east side of the building.
Thanks so much. I'll open up the commission if anybody has any questions. Yes, sir.
So is this going to be a scenario where the entire garage door area is opening up to the street? Or is that just decorative? Is that functional?
No, it's a functional garage door.
Okay.
It would actually, you'd be able to open it up. The plans
Cool.
do show an air curtain that would be in there to,
Yeah,
to meet code requirements.
okay.
Sounds good. Any other questions, comments?
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Thank you, Model and Fleischman. If there's no further questions, all those in favor, somebody saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And last but not least, we have D, discussion item, a discussion and possible recommendations to amend Chapter 17 zoning, allowing shooting ranges as a conditional use within the City of West Bend by the Department of Development. The applicant is City of West Bend. The agent is the same. Mark is going to give Jim a break. Go ahead.
Thank you. The city is reacting to a request to allow both an indoor and outdoor firing range at a specific location. In preparing to address that request, we determined that currently that the use of firearms is regulated for the general public and for specific users is limited to uses granted under a conditional use permit subject to Chapter 17 of this code, our zoning code. In reviewing Chapter 17, we discovered that there are no listed districts where shooting ranges, either indoor or outdoor, are permitted as conditional uses. So essentially, we have a little bit of a dichotomy in our code right now. With that, we did examine to see what the impacts for shooting ranges are judged to be, and what type of districts might be considered appropriate. But again, these are just starting discussion points for you. We'd like you to take a look at this and help provide some guidance to staff. We originally were going to bring an ordinance to you, but after several discussions, we felt that the discussion was more appropriate if this was to move forward. So essentially, the type of issues are the obvious ones: public safety within and beyond the range, the range and firing line designs, range operation and supervision become an issue for this type of use. Security to the range. A good number of especially the outdoor ones, are actually encircled in fencing to stop people from wandering into them. Ventilation and lead discharge emissions are cited by some codes that we've looked at. Range ventilation was also another item that is enumerated in some of the building codes, and which clients are permitted to use the site. Many of these ranges are restricted to, they're an accessory use to other uses within the building, for example. They're not necessarily always generally open to the general public as well. So in addition to that, we provided to you a synopsis of what we thought might be a starting point for discussion of the different zoning districts in which this would be approached from. The indoor ranges is much easier to cite. There are more that are places where it would be easy to handle these issues, as well as not have a negative impact on surrounding or adjoining uses. We included them in several of our districts. We excluded ones that were generally neighborhood-related commercial districts. We did not put them into residential districts, obviously. We did not put them into the industrial districts where commercial use, retail use, or supporting services aren't allowed. We treat it like any other commercial use in that case. So we put them into the uses that you have listed here. We did include both institutional and park districts, because there are a number of these located within those type of use districts. Not within the city, but elsewhere. The outdoor ranges get a little more problematic, as you can understand. The design of the range will have a significant impact. I would like to represent to you that the term baffled range, where they have not only the stop, usually a berm and other devices at the end of the range, but they have baffling along the sides and above the range to stop errant shots from leaving the range area, including on the firing range. They'll have it enclosed on at least 3, if not 4, or at least 3 sides, top and the back and the 2 sides. So there are ways to do these type of ranges, but I will point out that even with a fully baffled range, the issue gets to be not just on the safety, but what their impacts are for adjoining uses or the value to adjoining properties. If you're putting this within one of the ones we have listed here is the M3, which is more of a business park type environment. What are the impacts for the adjoining lands and the values of those? Also, outdoor ranges, noise carries far. and simply putting decibel ratings and that sort of thing aren't very effective for this type of things. Repetitive noises can be an issue for people living even a quarter mile away from these type of things. So I'm not trying to say it can't be done. It's the type of uses that you'd have to make a determination on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And it shouldn't be just staff recommendations. I felt this was a commission's effort that should be addressed. So we'd welcome any feedback you might have on this and any directions that we should move forward in writing an ordinance to bring forward. That would start the public hearing process, discussion before this body first, and then a action by you on whether or not you're in favor of that or want to amend that further. And then ultimately this would go to our city council for amendment of our zoning code. And at that point is the first that the applicant that asked for this to be brought up would be able to bring both a site plan and a conditional use permit before you, before it could be considered. So again, we don't address it in our code right now, so we could not take an application from the individual and to give you one to actually look at as part of this. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Thanks, Mike.
Just for clarity, before we get started, for the commission and for those watching, could you tell us what the X means and what the NA and the X with the parentheses 1 means on the chart?
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't print this page out, so I'm looking at it from a distance here. The NA, basically, I'm sorry, I thought it was self-explanatory, non-applicable. The X's are the districts that I would recommend that might be considered for this, and the subscripted sections, I made the notation that it would be appropriate within that district where I've got it footnoted, in my opinion, if associated with the principal use of the building. In other words, not a standalone range, but a range that's associated with the other rest of that site's use.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just another point of clarification, regardless of the wording on the would-be ordinance, with it being a conditional use permit, it would still come before us for pretty much a case-by-case basis anyway, right?
Each site would have both a site plan, it would have a conditional use permit, and depending upon what they're asking for, again, a pistol range indoors has a different set of parameters than a long gun range outside, for example. The location of the site, baffling and noise may not be as necessary. There might be a few sites like that adjacent or in the city. I'm not aware of any, but it's possible. Again, there may be a site that everything but the adjoining uses and compatibility might be an issue, and it would be this commission's sole judgment as to whether that conditional use could be issued.
Sounds good. So with that, I will open it up. Yes, sir.
First of all, I'm a hunter and I'm a gun guy, so I'm going to tell you that out front. But I think this has to be discussed for more than a couple meetings because Waukesha is having some issues with their gun range, major issues. Now, if you look out at Richfield, across from Cabela's, they have a gun range there, indoor. It's doing outstanding. So really, we have to look at this not just one meeting, because where it goes, I believe personally, a lot of people will come to that meeting saying we want to put a gun range, and I'm for it in the right spot, but we really have to discuss this long and hard, I believe.
Thank you. Yes, Dolnick.
I don't have a problem with the indoor range at all. The outdoor range, however, I do have a problem with, and I'm not a hunter, but I carried a weapon for 40-some years in my occupation, and I own weapons, and they don't bother me, and I had to spend many hours shooting at an outdoor range year after year after year. We tell people when you live in the city, you can't do certain home occupations. If you want to do those things, you should move out to the township. We tell people they shouldn't be making certain kinds of noise. If you want to do that, you should move out to the township. I think it's inconsistent if we say But it's okay to have an outdoor range within the city limits with the attendant pop, pop, pop of the ammunition. I cannot envision an area within the city limits where an outdoor range would be appropriate. And we have to think about, as Mark alluded to, the impact on the surrounding uses. If we put an outdoor range within a industrial park, it may impact our ability to market those adjacent properties. It doesn't matter if you tell people that the outdoor range has been engineered and not a single round will leave it. It is a disturbing thing for many people, that prospect, as well as the noise, which you can't do anything to baffle completely. And that would not be, Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, would not be grounds to deny a conditional use permit, because it's marketability, not land use, not pollution, not noise. It is just simply marketability.
Straight marketability, no. Economic value and impact, yes, you could.
Maybe we could do it, but I think we should just avoid it when the time comes by saying, no, an outdoor range within the city just can't work. I do have a question, though. Is it appropriate for any range for the city to have conditions about how it operates? Why do we care about range procedures, safety measures, training, certification of range supervision? Those are internal issues of operation that don't impact the city, number one. And number two, I'm afraid if we start saying that we're going to require conditions, and God forbid there is a mishap because we didn't enforce the conditions, we've opened ourselves up to having standing where we shouldn't have had standing.
I offered you those as examples of what I found in other codes, and they are utilized in a couple of codes that I found. I will say that there are some items such as that we routinely do it. We don't allow underage drinkers in bars. You can restrict the use to responsible adults for use of firearms on an outdoor range. You can also, as some communities do, they do restrict it to 18 and over. You can require such things as certification and training of the staff that are supervising a range. Not much different than what we require for an operator's license in a liquor establishment.
Yeah, but we're requiring things that are under state law already, aren't we?
That's in some cases, yes. In other cases, no. And there are no restrictions like this that I could find for the use for the weapons.
Probably.
There might be some others that you may not want to, but the hours of operation are typically something that gets managed under a conditional use because of the impact on surrounding areas. The procedures that are observed, if weapons are loaded in an improper location and it's not supervised and they're not within the baffled area of an outdoor range, it makes a difference. For example, and it doesn't necessarily put liability on us. It puts the liability on where it is on the people that are supposed to be following specific operations.
I guess we can cross that bridge at the time, but overall though, I don't think the outdoor range would work in the city.
I will express your concerns. I've asked the city attorney to also look at these issues. I knew we wouldn't, that we might have some questions regarding that, so I've asked him to also look into this for us.
Yep. Commissioner Newman?
Yeah. Does the DNR have to approve an outdoor range, or is that just a service they provide?
I found no evidence that they have to approve it as a use. I would question that there might be some question regarding things like discharge from it as part of it. I have not seen anything that requires them to actually approval. All of the approvals I found under the DNR were regards to their specific ranges that DNR owned and operated or contracted out ranges.
Commissioner Mount? I'm sorry, do you have another?
Yeah, I have one more
Yeah, go
question. Are there any comparable cities that have an outdoor range?
I haven't found any in an urban environment for long guns, outdoor range. I don't know.
This is a pistol range, right?
I don't know that.
Okay.
We have, again, the design will probably be a bit more limiting factor. I mean, you design for what it has to stop, and you know weapons, I know you're familiar with it, what is necessary to handle a 38 or a 45 ACP is a lot different than if you're trying to stop a 50 caliber Barrett. So it's the design will probably have more ramifications on the range design than it will be for the sighting.
Can I just ask quick, was the would-be applicant, are they more in favor of one over the other, between the inside range or the outdoor range?
Their request at this time is for both.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Jed, on not getting a whole lot of the city's conditions involved in internal issues with this. But did you have any, Mark, when you were identifying districts that you thought might be appropriate as far as outdoor ranges, you identified 3. Do you have places specific in mind?
I do not.
No, okay.
I went basically based on, institutional uses can be governmental related. If the city or the county wanted to run. Now, I should point out that police firing ranges are already a permitted use through the city's
Right,
municipal
yeah.
code. But there are other training facilities that may not be specific to a municipality, might be joint, maybe, multiple jurisdictions, whatever, if they wanted to locate. I thought the institutional and the park were obvious choices. They're both either governmental associated or the park and recreation associated. We have not similar, but much lower scale in the concern of archery ranges are permitted in parks, for example. The other one is one specific business park that had an associated use where it could fall into.
Yeah,
But again, it might have impacts because it's also one of the key words in that district's enabling languages for the quiet and professional uses within the district. So it's a matter of judgment whether this would fall under that or not.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a gun guy too. I share concerns about outdoor range. Unless we can find, that's why I'm asking you if you've got specific spots in mind, unless we can find something that might be appropriate. So, and perhaps there is something out there.
So I had asked Mark prior about the applicant, and if you don't mind, I'll share because I think the context kind of helps a little bit too. So Delta Defense were the ones that had requested this. So I think if you think about their building, where they're located, kind of on the outskirts of the city, I think that makes a little bit more sense of why
That's what I'm saying.
why they're
Yeah,
requesting
there may
it.
be
So
there
can
may
I
be an
ask then,
appropriate
Mark,
spot.
with that type of building, which zoning district would they fall into in your example here?
I believe they are under the M3.
M3? Okay. Thank you.
Makes more sense.
Any other comments, thoughts, ideas?
And again,
I would just reiterate what Jed said. I'm very comfortable with the indoor range. Outdoor range, I'd certainly have concerns about noise and safety and the impact on surrounding properties. So,
And I'll throw my comments in as well. I agree, it's the noise from the outdoor that concerns me.
Sounds good. But does the commission feel comfortable with exploring an inside range option then, and what that language would look like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would, if it's Delta Defense, can we take a look at what the impacts might be of an outdoor range over there, or are we kind of coming to a?
I think it's two separate things. First, we got to decide if we want it, and then they would come
Sorry,
before us
gotcha.
with their
Okay,
own site
got it,
plan and
got it.
everything. Yep.
the problem is unless you consider it as a use, in the code itself, they have no right to make application for the conditional use.
Yeah.
So if you wish to consider outdoor ranges, then I would make provision for that in this. If you don't believe they're appropriate, then we will be shutting the door on such a request.
Yep.
But Delta may not be the only entity rather,
Yeah.
that's interested. So again, if we make it a conditional use in the ordinance, it could be any number of entities that might,
Yeah, okay.
besides them.
Yep.
I would be curious on some of the data around surrounding communities. You said you didn't find anybody who did have an outdoor range, but if there, how many do and don't, and maybe we could see some sample ordinances.
I can tell you that in looking at this, the number of urban sited ranges is relatively minimal, at least in southeast Wisconsin. I didn't expand to the whole thing. It's much more common to find the outdoor ranges in a broader area, further out in townships or in major tracts of land related to parks. McMiller Sportsman Center is one of those out by Eagle in southeast Wisconsin. So it's not that common to do it indoor. That's not saying that it can't be done. And I didn't expand my research to beyond Wisconsin at this time. There might be others in urban centers in other parts of the country. And I can reach out for more information as much as we can. I was trying to I didn't want to prejudge this too much until I knew what the commission's concerns would be.
I would just check into Waukesha, Mark, okay? I don't know if that's in the city limits of Waukesha, so I do know they have an outdoor range there.
Are you talking about the Waukesha Gun Club?
Yes, is that in
Out
the...
on 164?
Yes, is that in the city or is that in the outskirts?
I believe that's, I'm sorry, I can't answer it.
It'd be something to check into.
But it
I mean,
has an industrial park on the
It's right there,
non-shooting side of the backstop.
That's correct.
On the thing, and
which would kind of be very similar to where Delta Defense, it'd be very similar, just so you know, I think,
Right.
now that you said.
But I will point out that is a shotgun-only range.
Oh, are you sure about that?
Last time I was there was a good number of years ago, but I believe that
Okay, whatever,
it's
I
a
would check
shotgun
into it,
range.
so.
I can check into it.
Yes,
You wanted to look at that as an example of what not to do, right? Is that what you're saying?
well, sometimes that's,
This is important.
yes.
Yeah. But I would agree with the rest of the commission. I'd be interested to see what that language would look like for an inside range. I think it makes sense for the would-be applicant, and as long as the commission has a chance through the conditional use permit process to take a look at these case by case, then I think it'd be a good course of action. So, anything else you needed from us, Mark?
If it's all right with you, I will prepare the ordinance regarding the indoor range. I've seen a consensus on that, and I will try to do alternative language for an ordinance considering for outdoor range as well, so that you keep your options open on discussion.
Perfect.
Yep.
Very good.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. Thank you to staff for working on that. And having no further business for the Planning Commission, I adjourn by the call of the chair. Have a good night.